Dumbuya. Oh yeah,
The president of,
Guinea
yes,
Conakry.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we are live.
That's true. Okay. Okay.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the African Young Leaders Foundation Youth Dialogue Series. Thank you so much for always joining us on YouTube. And as usual, my name is Mary, your host from the African Young Leaders Foundation, the Executive Secretary. And today we have a very beautiful theme, which is the contribution of youth as catalysts for sustainable change. Yeah, so we know that the future is not something that is very distant, and we need, if we are to prepare for the future, we need to shape our future. And we know that young people are so central to shaping the future of Africa and the transformation of Africa. So they need to be at the forefront. So we've always had people saying that young people are the leaders of tomorrow, which I usually don't agree with, because it makes us being looked as we cannot be the leaders of today, so we wait for tomorrow. And for me, it is debatable, because I usually say that we are the leaders of today. How would we have a future which would not shape, which would not participated in shaping? So this beautiful theme today, we have amazing panelists who have done a lot of work around young people and are going to help us to unpack this theme, but also we will learn from them and their experiences according to the work that they do. With me in the house, we have the most beautiful, amazing, the lady in the house, Miss Ramata Dumbuya Adama. You're most welcome. And Mr. James Aporeku, who are going to introduce themselves and tell you what they do in their line of work if they're not speaking on the dialogue. So Ms. Ramata, please kindly welcome. Come and tell us who you are, what you do, where you're based, and everything else you wish us to know about you. Thank you so much. You're most welcome.
Thank you so much, Mary. My name is Ramata. As the beautiful Mary has said, I am the founder of Hope Fusion, and what I do is I help the youth that have lost their mom and dad due to the war or even violence. And with my NGO, I'm collaborating with other NGOs and also volunteering there and partnering up with them. And one of our new partnership is obviously African Young Leaders Foundation, and I'm very excited about what me and AYLF are going to be doing in the future. Shout out to James. um, and I just started a couple of months ago, but I've been building it for over a year. That's in summary of what I do.
Thank you so much. We can't wait to hear from you, and we can't wait to partner with you as LYLF. You're most welcome. Mr. James, kindly come and introduce yourself and what you do.
All right, thank you so much, Miss Mary, and thank you, Miss Ramata, for this opportunity once again. My name is James Aporeku. As you've rightly said, I'm a Ghanaian by nationality. I don't always go without saying that. You know, I'm proud to be an African, and a youth activist, a legal professional, and an entrepreneur. So the founder and then CEO of the African Young Leaders Foundation. Besides that, I have my own business I run here in the United States, J Technology LLC. We're into tech and then devices, electronic devices. Besides that, into the legal profession as well, where I'm looking forward to be able to practice my law as an advocate or an attorney here in the United States. So those processes are what I'm currently undergoing. And besides that, I do several other consultations with NGOs and then advertisement companies. So in a gist, that is what I can say about me. If I'm to say a lot, probably it may take so much time. But thank you so much. This is the best description I can give for myself at this moment. Thank you.
Mr. James, you have a name that I've always failed to pronounce, but moving forward, you're most welcome, and we can't wait to hear from you too. As we go ahead, like I said, our theme today is the contribution of young people as catalysts of change or sustainable change. But most times we hear about sustainable change, and I want to start with you, Ms. Ramata, to help us bring the theme into perspective. so that our viewers can understand what we are talking about. We cannot just go ahead without understanding. You know, when you hear these words, they're usually complex words, and you cannot tell me about sustainable change if I'm hungry. You cannot tell me about sustainable change if I'm unemployed. So, in your own opinion, what does sustainable change really mean before we go ahead with the whole thing? Thank you.
Of course. In my opinion, sustainable change is about creating long-term solutions, whether it's like social, economic, and environmental needs, and also it is also to make sure those changes does not compromise our future.
Okay, so briefly, you are saying that it's creating long-term impact. If we want to create sustainable change, we want to create impact that will last even for the futures or even for our children and our
Yes,
children.
yes. And to make sure that those changes, that does not compromise for future generations, just like you said.
I like how we make sure that the changes do not compromise the futures of the future generation. Thank you for breaking down that so clearly, and it is important for us to understand the foundation before we go ahead with the building blocks. And now that you've explained what sustainable change is, I would like Mr. James to help us also put the theme into context and understand what do we mean when we say youth as catalysts of change. I feel like these are so big English words. So Mr. James, can you help us understand, in your own opinion, what you would understand what it means by the phrase youth as catalysts of sustainable change before we go ahead?
No, thank you so much, Miss Mary, for the question. And the phrase as catalyst for sustainable change is a very interesting phrase in a very big English language, right? That one will find very difficult to comprehend. But to break it down to the simplest meaning with respect to my understanding, I'll take it from two perspectives. First and foremost, I'll take it from the scientific point of view. You know, way back in school, like elementary or primary school, we learned something about catalyst. Catalyst. What is a It's a chemical kind of a reaction. Okay, it speeds up chemical reaction. So something like that. All right. If you look at it from the metaphorical point of view, when we were doing literature way back in school, it symbolizes, we used it to symbolize something. So in this situation, if I'm to say that catalyst is a substance that speeds up a chemical reaction, and then in combination with the metaphorical point of definition, if I was to be in an examination hall, I'll merge the two to the extent that the scientific definition of it being a substance, catalyst, so I'll define catalyst in that instance being a substance that speeds as a chemical reaction. Metaphorical, I would say the substance that speeds at that chemical reaction are we the youth, right? So we are the that substance. We speed up, things that are supposed to be done in this generational era, this modern era, as opposed to what we used to do way back in the olden days. And we as the youth, we have the energy, the resilience to come up with fresh ideas. So putting it in the context, in the phrase as you said, sustainability has to do with how long is it going to last after we've triggered, that, substance. So the metaphorical point of view would be a body or an event that triggers a resilient transformation or a change. So we as a youth, as a substance in this situation that I've situated, we are trying to make an everlasting change that triggers significant event in our society. So basically, that is what that phrase means, and it means a whole lot. So when I hear about youth as a catalyst for sustainable change, I would say it's immediately think of how the journey that I started with. Okay, so I grew up in a very, I don't know whether I should describe it as a low income environment or society or a chronic poverty situation kind of a thing. But having witnessed firsthand the struggles that poverty brings and grew up in a very low income society, I would say that have been the resilience that have encouraged me to take certain bold decisions that has inured to the benefit of the entire community that are coming from or people around me. So for me, being a catalyst means not waiting for a change to come from anywhere, but as a youth who believe in yourself that you're a catalyst of change for a sustainable development, you have to go out there, fish out the problem that society is neglecting to solve, propose solutions, and the solutions should be lasting, not just something that you're going to propose and in the short term it comes with its own difficulties that even outweigh the difficulties that you are trying, problems that you're trying to solve. So through leadership initiatives, community projects, and even through academic journey, I have learned that youth, can ignite change. That doesn't just make impact today, but also build systems, okay, that endure, okay, for the upcoming generation. So if you have to ask me, that is a context at which I look at it as youth being the catalyst, for a sustainable development.
Thank you so much, Mr. James. That perspective really gives us a strong picture of what it really means to be catalysts of young people being catalysts of sustainable change. And I like your story. I like how you talk about your story with a smile. You're like, I grew up from poverty, but then you're smiling. Because yes, you grew up from poverty. So what? What are you going to do about it? Do you just sit and do nothing about it? If you've grown from poverty like me, you have to stand up and do something. It means that you go beyond being a beneficiary, but then you start being a decision maker in creating sustainable and lasting change. So thank you so much, Mr. James, for giving that perspective. Now that we know what really our theme means and what we want to talk about tonight, I'd like to come to you, Ms. Ramata, so we can understand the role of young people in this sustainable change that we are talking about, in this catalysm that metaphorically Mr. James talked about. So, Ms. Ramata, according to you, what do you believe, why do you believe that youth are uniquely positioned to drive sustainable change? Because James tried to hint about it a little bit, but why do you think, because he talked about us being energetic and resilient, but according to you, why do you think that we are, as young people, we are positioned uniquely to create this sustainable change that we want for our futures and then our children's futures?
Okay, I believe the youth are uniquely positioned to drive sustainable changes because first of all, we're very adaptable and also we're very globally connected and we're very good with technology and also innovative. We're always open-minded and by adaptable, I mean we're very open-minded. Unlike the other generations, we're always open-minded to more than ever, open-minded towards welcoming other cultures and very because of technology now we can actually find out about a country instead of their stereotype and all of that. So that with technology, I feel like nowadays we're more connected and we can understand other people's culture through technology, which makes us more adaptable. With the older generations, they're not very technologically savvy, so they don't really get to see all those resources that we do get to see. And also, I believe where it's all thanks to technology and also for the fact that with the youth, every protest, the majority of protesters have been the youth. So we definitely have that energy to drive change because we're always at the forefront of driving change. And he has shown throughout history.
Oh, wow. So in what I take from what you're saying, that we are dynamic, and by the fact that we are dynamic, we can be able to adapt to changes and any change that would come, which is not the case with older people.
Yeah.
I don't mean any offense to older people, but I'm one of the people who has experienced a lot of, I think, I want to call it discrimination. I actually recently posted about how I've been dismissed many times just because I'm a young person and I look like I'm not experienced until someone hears me talk. But you see, sometimes you don't have to listen to me. You just have to give me a chance. Because with young people, there is a lot of untapped potential which we can use to foster this transformation that we want. So just to build on what you've talked about, the role of why you believe we are uniquely positioned as young people, what would our future look like and what role would we play in shaping Africans' future or the sustainable change that we want to see?
Yes. I believe I'm sorry, can you rephrase that question again? What would
Like
our
like
future
what
look like?
like you talked about how we are adaptable, like those unique qualities that we young people. What role would we play to shape Africa's future in that case? And what would
Okay.
our future as Africa look if transformation is steered by young people? What would we
Oh,
do? Like, something like that.
yeah,
Yes.
of course. I feel like our future with the youth. Another fun fact about Africa is that we have the biggest youth population. And also with that fact, I do envision our future looking like us being more entrepreneurship, and there's obviously going to be more technological innovation, and hopefully the youth can have more leadership positions in the government.
That's beautiful, and that's also my prayer. That's my prayer, really,
Yeah.
because most times we are just talked about in the room, but even in our absence, they are hey, young people, this, young people, this, but
Mhm.
we are not in the room. Actually, even when we are in the room, we are not heard. It's just like someone giving you a microphone and then they turn it off.
Right.
Sometimes when they give you the microphone, they will listen to you, but things will stop there. They'll be like, these young people, they want transformation too quickly. Like, they don't even know what they're talking about. So it's really important to know that the future of Africa rests on how much we empower young people, because we would need them to shape this Africa that we want. Thank you so
Mhm.
much, Ms. Ramata. And Mr. James, I would like to come to you in this case. We have seen many young people movements, young people organizations. They start with a lot of passion, and some of them we've even been part of them. But then somehow they cannot keep going because of different challenges that they face. Like, you also know some of the movements or of the organizations that you've been part of, but then it's usually hard to sustain the momentum. So from your experience, what are some of those strategies or practices that we can use or young people can use to ensure that there is lasting impact? You don't just start, but also you have that lasting impact that you want to see at the end of the day.
All right, thank you. That's a very wonderful question once again. Sorry, and to begin with, I agree with you entirely, 101% that, as youth, we always have the passion and everything to ignite change as many as we want. We form so many movements, we establish so many things, start with passion and energy, but face a lot of challenges in keeping that fire alive. And it's coupled with so many challenges. However, I'll mention only three of them I see as, the main, challenges that we're facing. Probably I'll make it four. At the end of the day, let me just say four. Yes. So from my experience, these practices are what make it different and make it difficult as youth for us to sustain, even though we have the great ideas and whatever thing to move together. First of all, it has to do with the we have to build structures and not just the energy. So what do I mean that we have to build structures, not just energy? We have the passion and power, but without systems, it fails. That is absolutely right. And this reminds us of when the former president of the US, President Barack Obama, visited his first official trip to Ghana when he was addressing Parliament of Ghana in 2009. I think 2009, he made a profound statement that in Africa, we do not need strong leaders. We need strong institutions. And this resonates well with what I'm saying right now as one of the means that we should build structures and not just the energy and passion that we have. And he iterated, said the same thing in 2015 when he was addressing the African Union in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. He said similar thing. We do not really need strong people because strong people come, die, go, and their legacies may not be as strong as they used to be when they were alive. So what then do we do to pass on a strong succession so that even if the person is not there, the legacies, the ideas of that person still lives on and the company, the movement, the NGOs, whatever thing that the person was heading, you know, it still functions as though the person is alive. And that is what we need to understand as a youth. If you are forming a movement, an organization, an NGO, whatever, legally, if you register it, from the word go, it says that it is separate and distinct from you as the individual. And that is where I always want us to take the perspective from. In that, don't see yourself as the all boss. Don't see yourself that without you, things should come to a standstill. All right. So in that situation, as a youth, if we agree, if we have it at the back of our minds that we are going to form movement, and the movement we are forming is to, work towards good governance, work towards building clear systems, clear rules, accountability mechanisms in our society that will help us to drive and re-image the future that we are praying for, and which I agree with you that the future we are looking for is not a spectrum of anything at all in the future. It's what we're doing now. What we do today determines what we enjoy tomorrow, and tomorrow is today, depending on how we put structures in place, right? So the first thing is let's build structures and not just the energy that you and we are talking about on this call. All right. And once we do that, we are very good to go. A second one I want to talk about has to do with we investing in capacity and in partnerships. Why am I saying that? Today, and let me talk from the business perspective because I'm also into businesses and all that. I've had the opportunity to meet with different people, and most often people that are older than me. I vibe more with them when it comes to collaboration, as opposed to people of my age or below. Only a few who understand what I wanted to drive at. Right. And why am I saying this? We think that as youth, yeah, you've started something, you're getting the audience, you're getting the publicity and all that. So we think that is all. You can do everything on your own. Everything revolves around you. You don't need any third party, you don't need people to scale you up. You think it doesn't work that way. In business, you need people, partnerships to scale you up, and that makes you sustainable in whatever thing you're doing, whether it be in business, NGO, whatever, charity. And that is what we, the youth, we are failing to adhere to. We are failing to understand. Once we come to understanding that, yes, I have a cause, and the cause I'm having, I have people around me who also have similar ideas, ideologies. How then do I bring them on board? And that has always been the problem. It's very difficult for people with great ideas to always come together to execute a singular plan because everybody is trying to feel bossy, right? And once you start to feel bossy, it is going to repel. There's no attraction that can come. It is not going to be attractive at all because everybody's trying to show that I have the power, I have the power. And I think that's one of the main reasons why in Africa today we are being unable to unite because the ideologies, the ideas that Kwame Nkrumah and co they had way back in their Casablanca, conferences, Morocco and whatever, that we should have a united Africa. By now, we will have been referring to Africa as a United States of Africa. We spend one currency, but today we are spending over 50 currencies. We are moving from just Kigali to Uganda, and you have to change your money at the border. Other than that, you can't spend so many unnecessary stress. And I think as a youth, if we have this ideology, this mindset that before we can move mountains, before we can attain the Africa that we want, we need to come together. We need to invest in capacity building. We need to invest in partnership. We need to invest in training our members, sharing skills, and connecting with established institutions that create resilience. So when a movement partners with schools, NGOs, or policymakers, it moves from being just, a movement to being a force, right? At that point in time, you have a very strong force. You are grounded very well that regardless of what, it's not going to shut you down. And once you do that, you are good to go. And that is one thing I actually want we as youth and we as stakeholders, we are people are looking up to us to learn from as NGOs, Hope Fusion, Ms. Ramatha, you are doing so amazing here in the United States, in Washington, Ohio, across all state. AYLF, we're also doing very well in Africa and all that. How do we fuse? How do we come together to form that force and not just a movement, not just an NGO single-handed, like handling things, uh, um, just by ourselves and not involving other people to make it stronger, right? And the other thing has to do with we have to place so much focus on legacy and succession, and it follows from my previous statement. So if you have strong systems, and then at the end of the day, there's one person who plays a major role in that particular sector or organization. Unfortunately, that person passes on or is dead. Um, Most often, if you see companies or organizations that is headed by only one person, the one person's decision takes precedence over the other. Once that person dies, automatically that organization also dies because that person is gone with whatever knowledge that he or she was, bringing on board, and the members were just spectators. They weren't, playing any pivotal role in the decision-making processes, right? So that's levels down to it brings everything that you've worked from day 1 to day 10 down to 0. Cos 90 work. In mathematics, we say cos 90, right? So let's train people to take care of things that we are doing now if we are no longer. And that is why AYLF, Hope Fusion, and all other sister organizations that we are partnering with, we always tell them that we believe so much in collaboration. It is what makes us stronger. It is what makes us realize what we are looking forward to doing. And we mentor people, we teach people how we travel from dust to being able to sit at a place where there is no dust. So teach them the way, and if you are not there, they'll be able to rely on that to make it a little bit, make it more even beautiful than you've done, sorry. So let me end here. Let me just give the 3. But the 4th one I was going to give actually it's not that strong as all of these that I've said. It has always been the case that how do I put it? I'm trying to get a keyword to simplify it. Um 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 but it is premised on my first statement. The first one has to do with you doing everything by yourself. So, for example, if I have an NGO, you're always repelling from collaborating with other people. At the end of the day, if you are no longer, what impact have we created in society? So let's try to partner, teach, mentor, and then teach people who are following us so that in our absence, when you are not there, they can also take the lead. So let me just make it this snappy. Thank you so much. I've spoken a lot. I'm sorry about that.
No, but it's okay for sure. We could give you the whole day and listen to it. Although, what I love from your conversation is basically about what you said about collaboration. We always want to work alone. We always see other people as competition, but if we were to take Africa further, we cannot do it alone. We cannot work in isolation because competition, I'm one of the people who believe in competition as something that is good because competition allows ideas to flourish. I mean, you will have a lot of ideas, and in the contest of ideas, you choose the best, you choose the one that is most logical, and we will have together, we can have this Africa that we want to create instead of looking at other people pushing them down. So definitely, most definitely, collaboration, like the way you put it, mentorship, then strong institutions, and then capacity building are definitely the things that will keep the fire burning beyond the first sparkle, so for us to be able to get that lasting impact. Now, moving away from that, usually we know that in every work that we do, there are usually challenges, and with every opportunity comes a challenge. So, Ms. Ramata, usually we see that young people, like I said, young people are usually underestimated or dismissed. Most times, even when you allow them to participate, we're always tokenizing them. They're just there for the sake, just to be seen. Okay, we are including young people, fine. So this is because of very many different things, and some of them are misconceptions. What are those misconceptions in your experience that you've seen people having about the young people's role in driving change in Africa?
Yeah, so pretty much unfortunately one of the missing sorry. Oh my goodness. One of the misconception is that first of all, everyone knows this, is that we lack the maturity. And by maturity means that we don't have enough experience or enough like experience to make those decisions when or by our brains aren't like fully developed somehow, so we don't have the the capacity to have those great ideas, when in fact one thing I realized about life and as an adult now is that it doesn't matter what age you are, as like as long as like for me, like with the definition of like maturity, it's like okay, like what are your values and life experience. So it doesn't really matter what age, so that's like something I'll be like okay, that's kind of like it doesn't really make sense that we like the maturity, because we have to judge people individually, and the fact that these youths are coming in and wanting to make those changes, obviously, they do have the maturity and um passion to even learn and get those decisions made. And another misconception is that we are impatient. And again, going back on it, it just depends on that person. Well, and another thing, going back on what I said earlier on, to summarize everything, um, to summarize everything, in the end, just like I mentioned early, is that young people have always been consistently at the front of every historical and social change movements, like the Vietnam. Young people in college, they were protesting the Vietnam, and even Black Lives Matter, and Nelson Mandela. Like pretty much every historical event, every youth have always been upfront, and I feel like at times we don't have to just have a like an assumption. Let's just look at the facts.
Yes, you're right. You're right about that. I think every uncle who's viewing us on YouTube know and have faced most of these misconceptions. And like you said, it's usually we are not the same. You have to judge individuals according to, I mean, individuals are different. But then why do you even have to judge them? We need to create more space for young people to thrive in these spaces, rather than having those misconceptions how we are immature, and sometimes they say we are inexperienced, and
Mm-hmm.
so on and so forth. But we've seen people who are very energetic, and they will go all the way to achieve the experience that is required to be accepted, to have a seat at the table.
Right.
And I'm still with you. Let's dig deeper. We talked about the misconceptions as one of the challenges, but then we have systemic challenges that have been there just because of the systems that we have in place and have always been there. What are some of those systemic challenges that are limiting young people's participation or young people's role in driving change? And how can we dismantle them as young people so that we can be able to move forward?
Yeah, I can definitely list two most important ones. And the first one I would say on the education system. We have a very weak education system, and we have to be educated in order for us to be aware of our environments and what's going on. So, and another part is with after most of the time, I don't know if it's your country, but in my country, there's plenty of college students that graduate, and unfortunately, they get out of graduation with no jobs, and they just have to go back to the same old thing that they were doing before. And with that challenge that they're having, it's really hard for them to think about sustainable change, because they're thinking about what to eat and what to feed their family, and those are all the type of barriers, that the youths are actually facing, and unfortunately, it's due to the government, yeah. So
Yeah, I think what you're talking about education system, I think it's like a very big challenge across
Yeah.
Africa. I think Mr. James will concur with me that our
yeah,
education systems are almost the same. In Uganda, I think we are trying to bring a new curriculum that emphasizes more practical bit of it, but it has always been limiting. Like you're saying, it's still the same thing that African countries are facing, or African are facing. They get out of school and they don't have jobs. But most times it's because of the education system that has taught us to reproduce more than even processing what we've studied or even relating to it and being able to apply it to the real world. We are always taught to cram because exams. I have to
yeah,
read, get this into my head, put it on paper, I'm done with it. I'm telling you, if you ask me what I studied in my school, I will not remember most of the things. It's because I was trying to pass. I was trying to pass and show this to my parents that I've passed. But then when you get out, you realize that the real world is different. Then you have to learn again. So why did I even
yes,
waste my time? Why did I waste my time to pay my school fees and then study all those things? But it's because this is what even our teachers have been brought to. This is what they also know. They don't know any better. But if we would advocate for better education systems, I believe we would get better products and we'll get people who are really have the skills that are required in the job market, because the world has changed. The skills we get from school, they're not the ones that are needed. So I believe that is a very big systemic challenge, and as young people, we need to really do something about it if we want to achieve the sustainable change that we want to achieve. Thank you so much, Ms. Ramata, for that wonderful answer. Mr. James, I would like to come to you because you mentioned something to do with when you have these ideas, most times the people who get you or understand you most are usually people who are not even in your generation. So in that case, you hinted about intergenerational collaboration. As someone who has that experience in collaborating with people of different generations, kindly take us through how us as young people can be able to work with those people, those other people, without losing our authenticity or voice. Sometimes we have to compromise just because they usually overtake us. We have nothing to do. But we can be able to work with them. Like the way you said, you have successful stories of working with them. We cannot work in isolation. We need them. I know that usually they say we are the leaders of tomorrow, and then they are the same people who make sure that our tomorrow doesn't come. But how have you worked with them and you give us those some of those things that have enabled you work with them so that we can be able to learn from you? But also, what are those barriers that you have seen in intergenerational partnership as a person who has worked in this field before?
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And the scenario you just gave sits well with one funny thing I saw several years ago where I think I even passed it myself through one of a conversation I was having that why do most people always pray? They wish you well, like, oh, I pray that you get money, millions, blah blah blah. When you were a kid, right? When we are going through difficulties, and then immediately those blessings they bestowed upon you begin to manifest, most of those same people will start envying you. So I asked myself, is it that the change you prayed for me that it wasn't genuine or what? So that is very true. Change is really, really very difficult and painful sometimes to see somebody transform from the trenches to the top and all of that is very difficult. It's the same way if you have to put it in this balance, intergenerational collaboration with the elderly and trying to still make sense and not lose authenticity and all that. And before I delve into that, this conversation has been revolving around sustainability, and I'm like, wow. So it's literally mean sustainability comes from, shifting, a kind of a movement or mindset mentality of being personality driven to a kind of being purpose driven. So that, because if you lack that, skill, probably the sustainability we're all talking about here will never yield or come to bear. And I've really learned a lot through Ms. Ramata's presentation and your further, enlightenment on that sustainability issue. Now, when you talk about the intergenerational collaboration with the elderly and still not lose our authenticity, and again, the barriers that we're having, how we can overcome that is a very tough question that anybody in my position will want to answer. I'm just not going to filter words in this situation. I promise to say it as it is, because I've had that experience before. In most situations, if you happen to be the youngest person in the conversation amongst the elderly, and you seem to be making a lot of sense, calling them out, they always feel uncomfortable. That is just the gospel truth. They'll be like, "Who is this guy? Who is this, person trying to behave?" And most people see it as you being rude. Like most of the elderly who are not really well exposed and they don't know the trajectory of how the world is moving from that analog era to this digital era, where everything, you don't need to go and sit at the feet of the elderly during the night. Place your feet in the cup of water or in the bucket of water and all that to listen to stories so you can drive some kind of wisdom from it. And all. Now everything is at our disposal. We have everything at our fingertip, just with a click of a phone, go to the internet to have it. So sometimes we try to challenge them, they question themselves like, how, why, and why me? So it's a very powerful, because we need that. They are very uncomfortable. We need them. We also need them to back us, push us, sorry, whenever it is necessary. Sorry, I think I need some water. I'm sorry. Uh, yes. So now, so combining our age with the elderly. So I would say that with the experience that I have, it is always the creativity and energy of young people, but it also comes with so many challenges when we try to portray that we know, and then intergenerational collaboration is necessary. Yeah, you are speaking to the issues regardless of your age and whatever. And then most of the elder people at the spot, they will not pay heed, or they'll behave as if you are not making sense. But they'll go back home, come back the following day, you meet them. Yeah, they'll tell you, "Oh, you said this the last time we met. I wasn't really thinking it is something good, but upon a sober reflection on it, I think you were making a point. So yeah, let's go with it." So it's we as a youth, one thing I would say that we should always, as much as possible, be how do I put it? Be respectful in passing our comment, because that's one thing I'll talk about subsequently. That's one of the challenges with respect to the barriers as far as this is concerned, intergenerational, collaboration, and still not losing our focus and all that, or authenticity. One of them, the barriers when we are dealing with the elderly, has to do with there's a deficit in terms of trust, or a mutual mistrust. And what do I mean by mutual mistrust, or mistrust, sorry, or a deficit in trust? There is a deficit because the elderly, all right, the older leaders sometimes um underestimate we the youth capacity, what we possess, what we have, or what we can bring to the table. And that's why most often I always say that whenever I had opportunity to be on a platform to discuss with people who are way older than me and they're policymakers, I say that, yeah, you can't go and make a decision or a policy that will impact with the youth without involving us. But when it comes to the implementation, you want it to be done. We need to be there to express ourselves so that you can really understand what we're going through before it becomes a policy. You don't go and reason for us, okay, thinking that that's what we're going through, and at the end of the day, it doesn't really be the case. So I'll say that when there's that trust, that okay, I'm younger than you are, I'm older than you are, but let's have some mutual trust. Don't underestimate me to the extent that I'm young, so I don't have the capacity, I can't reason enough. And one other thing is, while the elderly underestimate us, we, the young people, also fear being overshadowed or dismissed by the elderly people. And that is the truth. So, most often, if you are sitting among the elderly and you're making a point that has to do with a critical point, you're always making sure that you don't pass a comment that to show you are very disrespectful. And that is where the temerity comes from. So we end up being timid, I would say, because you think you are saying the right thing though, but because you're in the midst of the elderly, you can't say it as it is supposed to be said. You just say it anyhow, and they also take it anyhow. Right. So that is one barrier that we need to work upon. And I think at the end of this day, we have to have a solution towards it. The second one I want to talk about has to do with the means of communication or the communication style. Back in the days, the village, we used to use the gongong beater. I don't know. I think it's something unique in Africa. I don't know. I don't know how it's called in your country. But the gong beater is a drum where we beat to sound to send out information in the village. Okay, maybe there's something that has happened. The chief is calling upon everybody to come to the palace and listen to what he has to say. All right, maybe they're saying that tomorrow, no, you don't have to go to farm on this day. So the gong beater will be roaming all over the the highways, the byways of the village, and then announcing that tomorrow it's a farming day or whatever. Don't go to the farm. If you go, you meet the dwarfs and all that, you know. So that is the means of communication back then. But now, the way we communicate nowadays, there's been a marvelous advancement. Okay, so the elderly style of communication is kind of different from what this generation we are used to. So most often the frame of ideas is different, and we create so many friction as opposed to this. So for example, if I say I'm communicating some kind of information like through the social media, all right, most of them, the way they'll see it, or even if I have to draft an MOU or a contract between an elderly and me, my style of drafting will be kind of different from that of the elderly person, because what they used to do is what he is used to, but I'm used to what is happening now. The contemporary time, the contemporary template is what I'm used to. And you know, as I've already said, change is always very difficult, and people find it very difficult to change. So once there's this friction, there's this tension between you, the elder, and the young people or young person, that's where you have to bring in your negotiation skills to be able to scale up issues with them so that we can resolve it. Now, let me move on to how we can overcome this whole issue of not losing our authenticity and all of that when we are having an intergenerational, you know, collaborations or partnership, whatever. We are far behind time. Now, what I'll say is that to overcome this, we as young people, we must engage older leaders with respect. That's the ultimate thing. Once there is respect, and then you're able to do anything, anytime with the elderly people. Because I don't they say respect is reciprocal. If you go with respect, the elder person also give you the necessary respect that you need. But whilst you're going with respect, not don't be silent. Once you're silent, sometimes they deem silence to be consent. Maybe what may be happening may not be the case, but for the fact that you are unable to speak up, it is deemed that you are condoning to whatever thing that is happening. So we can acknowledge their, you know, experience while, you know, we still being firm about our unique perspectives, right? For me, authenticity means, you know, speaking from lived experiences, whether it's poverty, entrepreneurship, or community building or engagement. Okay, because those are truth no one can take away from you. So on the other side, older leaders need to see youth not as competitors, as you made mention of previously, competition, blah blah blah. So if they see we as young people, oh, I mean, I saw you when at the normal palace, the normal say, I saw you when your mother was giving birth to you. I was right beside your mother when she was delivering you. How can you speak sense in my head? How can you suggest that what I'm saying doesn't make sense? You know, so that sense of entitlement that you know it all. once we are able to break that barrier, they will be able to overcome all these intergenerational, challenges and still maintain that relationship that we built among the elderly people. So one practical approach is, co-leadership models, right? So design programs that will, welcome the elderly, both elderly and the young people. That's the only time that you can share ideas meaningfully, mutually, without any form of disrespect or without anybody, seeing that he or she has been really disrespected. And then another is a mentorship, okay, and then reciprocity, as I've already made mention of. So once there's mentorship and all that, the elderly knows that, yeah, this approach is good. It may not hurt the young person who's coming on board. And you know that when the young person is hurt, they go all out. They'll speak their mind, and then it will hurt you, the elderly, the more, and it may bring stampede, whatever, you know, collaboration that you are trying to come up with. So, in a nutshell, okay, when both sides come together with humility, regardless, it doesn't matter. You may be 60 years old, you may be 100, I'm 20, or I'm 15. If you come with humility, at the end of the day, we'll be able to do things without any difficulties at all. And then the partnership doesn't dilute our voices, it amplifies them for a sustainable change. So I think personally, the mixture of my personal experience and the point that I've been able to say here, I think it answers the question. If it doesn't, I'm ready to answer any further or follow-up questions.
I mean, who is the judge here? Anyway, thank you so much. That was very practical and very elaborate. Thank you. One thing I get from your submission is that we have to participate respectfully, but also meaningfully. One thing I would like to pass a call to action to us who are empowering young people, because if we want them to participate meaningfully, so that they end up not getting underestimated by the elderly, or for them even to be able to listen to them, we have to build the capacity of young people to be able to participate in these spaces meaningfully. For example, if it is a policy brief, you have to disseminate it in a way that young people can understand, in their way they can understand, so that they can be able to at least participate in that particular, in the decision making of that particular policy. So it's really, really, really important that we put that under consideration if we were to work with the elder generation. But also the elder generation has to listen. They need to understand that things have changed, and being dynamic, they will come up with new ideas. So they also need to be like how Ms. Ramata said, they need to be adaptable and understand that, okay, there is a new way of doing things. We're living in a world of AI, and there are so many amazing things that young people have come up with these days. So I believe that if we work together, we can be able to come up with greater things, that the ideas will be very many, and we will achieve the Africa that we want at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, we are saying we don't want to be talked about in the rooms. We want to be in those rooms, because there's nothing for us without us. So that is what we are asking in this particular time. So before we go ahead, I would like to thank everyone who is watching us on YouTube. Thank you so much for always being here. You always wait for us and listen to us. And thank you. We always see the comments. We always see the shout outs and the love that you send to us. Thank you so much. And we believe that you learn a lot from our panelists as always. So Mr. James, I am still with you. I want us to turn to technology, because we cannot leave the conversation without talking about technology. I mean, that is where the world is, and that's where the world is going. We know that technology is very central for us to achieve the change that we want to achieve. And with the rise of digital platforms and technological systems, we know that sometimes it can be empowering, but also it can be limiting. It can be empowering in a way that we can use them as platforms to achieve what we want, or to even advocate for what we want. But then sometimes we get challenges that come with technology, like cyberbullying. So according to you, how do you see digital platforms being empowering or limiting, and what can we do in this digital era as young people to be able to use technology meaningfully?
Thank you so much for the question. Yes, technology is one thing that keeps on evolving day in and day out. And at the blink of your eye, if you don't take care, you'll be like, how do I go by this technologically? So that digital platforms and technology have, been a game changer for youth movement. Actually, I will not dispute that fact. And a critical example has to do with the how do I say, the Gen Z's protests in Kenya, how it sparked and everything. I think we had an episode on that way back last year, right? And from stakeholders in that protest, they used the social media to gather people. They didn't that was very powerful. You could see that hundreds of thousands of youth turned out for that protest. And we knew the end result, how it ended up. Whatever bill they were protesting against was declined, or it wasn't part, it didn't go through the processes to become a bill, right? Or it wasn't implemented. So that is one positive use of the digital technology that we're talking about, that's played a very critical role in our systems, in our communities, in our workplaces, and all of that. And even though it is coupled with a lot of negative aspects and challenges and all of that, of which we'll address subsequently, but the positives, I would say, outweigh that of the negatives. And as I've said, one scenario is what I've just given. So they allow us to amplify our voices. The Gen Zs really have been able to inspire a lot more Africans from different countries to also do what they did, because immediately after that event, so many youth were enlightened. They're like, oh, so we can do this to change things. We can do this to change the narratives. So why are we sitting down? Let's use the same social media platform to empower people, to hold government officials accountable, to hold the state, because at the end of the day, you're using our taxes. So you have to use this reasonably and resourcefully, right? So to mobilize people quickly. And one of the positive is, yeah, today we are on this call as a result of digital platforms or digital technology, right? Other than that, we really have been here. How will we have been communicating way back in the olden days? Before we could make a call, somebody will say, where were you? I was there. So, where were you? So, back in the 80s, so let me make reference. Back in the 80s, before we could make a call, we have to climb mountains, we have to climb trees before we could access like strong network to make a call. And even that, in the process of it, just in a blink of an eye, like some 30 seconds, everything will go off again. You have to be on a tree, raise the phone, put on loudspeaker, and speaking, shouting, blah, blah, blah. You have to climb the mountains. Today, it's no longer as a result of digital technology platforms that we have. So we have the intervention of MTN, Airtel, and all of that, who they are drawing technology closer to us. And some of us who are also professionals in the digital space or technology space, you can also invent, it has enhanced the scale at which invention has evolved. So over the past few years, you see somebody come out with an app or that you can connect with people. Facebook, back in the days, I remember when I first signed out to my Facebook page, it was 2012 or 2010. The interface was very different. You can do so many things. You can do marketplace was lost, but today we do business on social media, on Facebook, on TikTok, on LinkedIn, and whatsoever. So that's the positive things we do there. And you as an individual, as a youth, it is now incumbent upon you to go out there and sell yourself. What do you have that you want the world to know? What do you have that you want to portray to the world, so that they will take advantage of that and you also take advantage of them? Because on the day it's a barter trade. What I have, I give what I have, and then I get what I want, right? So put good news outside there so that you get the good publicity. There's already saying that there is no bad publicity. I absolutely disagree with that postulation. There's always a bad publicity. People say that, oh, whether the publicity is bad or not, you can make a good news out of the bad publication. Yeah, the bad publication you have is not, the internet doesn't forget. It's not gonna erase anytime. Your generation will come and see it over and over and over. Right, so don't strip yourself naked, post on social media for likes or for followers. At the end of the day, you can never delete it. Once it goes to the cyberspace, you can never delete it. It's gonna be there forever and ever. And it taints your image. It has some kind of derogatory, remarks on your image. And you apply for job, employers will go and search your name and see such information on the internet about you. And that's one thing as a youth leader or activist, whenever we are calling for applications. And I think, Miss Mary, you do the same. I saw it when you viewed my profile like years ago. So when people put in application, I do it a lot on a daily basis. I'll search you on the internet. I'll search of profiles. I see what kind of a person are you? What do you do on the internet? Are you using the internet to the detriment of people, or are you using it to the benefit of people or your entire community? Right. So that is what I do. And then if I see negative news about you, that's the first red flag. Maybe I'll give you the opportunity to explain yourself in an interview. Other than that, you just send you a nice letter. We are unable to proceed with you because we receive a large volume of applications and we wish you all the best in your next endeavors, blah, blah, blah. But technology can also be limiting. Digital device mean that not all youth have equal access, right? And it's especially in rural or under-resourced areas or communities. And while social media create visibility, it sometimes promotes collectivism, okay, where people engage online without translating it into real action. So people, you go online, you post a very nice story, you post, oh, I took a picture with the president of the United States, and then at the end of the day, what connection are you developing or what are you getting after that post? But however, you've gotten the audience, people will come and like, oh, all the best, I wish to be in your shoes. But people don't know the shoes that you are wearing. So, and you are portraying to the world that you are wearing a very nice shoes that it fits so well. But, public, you please the public, go back home and don't get anything. So try to use digital spaces, you know, business wise, like sell yourself business wise in any form positive and void anything negative. So the key is balance, okay? Using digital platforms not just for awareness, don't just use for awareness and all that, but as tools for education, fundraising, collaboration, and accountability. Technology should be a bridge to action, not a substitute for it. So that is all that I can say.
Thank you so much, Mr. James. I don't want to add so much, but there is something that you talked about how you could go to the top of the mountain to get network. But then you forgot there was a time
Uh-huh.
when you leave home, you don't have a phone. The phone is on the wall. When you leave home, you don't have a phone. I mean, how are they going to reach you? Eh? And even before that time, there was a time when we would just send letters. So if someone
Yes,
doesn't have the
yes.
money to send the letter,
Uh-huh,
no
uh-huh.
communication. So I like the fact that the things have been simplified these days, and with technology, you can be able to do a lot of things. Just like you mentioned, you can mobilize, you can rally support, you can use it to earn money. Who knew that there would be a time when someone would just put a phone and just dance and earn money? I mean, these people have a lot of money from TikTok. You
Yeah.
understand? So as
Yeah.
young people, it's really important if we use technology for the positive bit of it. Entertainment, yes, we can be entertained, but as Mr. James said, use it in a way that will benefit you, but also benefit others. So that's really, really good. And thank you so much for that submission. I don't know if I want to add because we are out of time, but I'd like to come to Ms. Ramata. She has been quiet so much. And I remember you didn't even did you tell us what you do? You didn't tell us online. We were offline when you were telling me that. But as we conclude, just give us one or two, one piece of advice to that young person who is out there watching us on YouTube, who is very eager to create sustainable, because we always have the passion, but we don't know where to start from or where to go. What is that one piece of advice that you want to give us?
Yeah, I would say one piece of advice is just find your passion because there's a lot of types of sustainable change. It could be social, economic, like social justice, like just like what you're doing right now, which is like helping women empowerment. Just find something that you're passionate in and make sure that you do your research and by research I mean like find out more about the issues that are going on, like by using, of course, now technology is amazing. We can even use AI for research. Just say, hey, AI, tell me more about woman issues, and then you just and AI can even give you like those details and events and about what's happening around you. So I would say first of all, find a topic. There's plenty of type of sustainable change that we can have. Find a topic that you're passionate in, because first of all, we always have to pick something that comes from the heart. Because if it doesn't come from the heart, it will be really hard for you to just have the energy to even tackle it. And second of all, do your research, be very well informed. And I would say third, just start, just start. And at times, you know, um, you don't even have to not like know everything. Just start. And once you start, the right people will come along, join you and mentor you. And that's actually what happened to me. I happened to like become the director last year of Association de Jeunes au Mali, which is like an agriculture in Mali, helping the youths with hunger and all that stuff. And then I get affiliated with the UN, and that kind of inspired me to start my own, which involved children. And I would say, like, first of all, the reason why I did quit the director role, which was an amazing role. Another thing, I actually have 2 degrees, which is social justice and applied social science research, and I've plenty of experience when it comes to um, working with the government. So that's how come I got that role. But the reason coming back on why I quit was because it wasn't something that I was very much passionate in. So I had to drop that position, because I have to be honest with myself. And at the end of the day, you also have to be honest with yourself. And it doesn't matter what position you're in. You just have to find about what you're passionate in, and that comes from the heart. And if it comes to the heart, it will be something that will make you happy if it succeeds. And right now, I'm going from the director to like a whole new foundation, So, but I would say I definitely made the right decision, because I'm very happy, and I happen to have the opportunity to go to the UN, and they could like literally see my passion. And I have great mentors now, all because they saw how genuine I was. So if you do want to make sustainable change, you have to find something that really comes from the heart and be very um knowledgeable about it. I won't say you have to know like everything, but just know the general facts, and people will see that, whether you know what you're talking about or whether it's something you're just doing just to do. But that would be my general advice. And in summary, just find something you're good at. The right people will come your way, and if it comes from the heart, it will be something that would 100% become successful.
And I'm not adding anything to that. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. Mr. James, your call to action, we conclude.
Wow, wow, wow. I feel like stealing what Miss Ramata
You don't want
just
to dilute it.
I feel- for so that I will not be cited for plagiarism, let me just say it in a different context.
Plagiarism. That's fun.
So so I side with you 100% when you said, you should have a topic. I think one thing most people do nowadays is that they're just on the social media to have fun because everybody is there having fun. But if you ask yourself, the fun they're having, are they generating any source of income from it? Yeah, you can still have fun and generate income. Have a topic, know your audience, know what to talk about, and know yourself. People will come to you. And the only advice I would give, I don't know if I should say it's an advice or an opinion, because um um so if I could give an advice, let me stick to the answer. the question, sorry. So if I could give an advice, just one piece of advice I would give is that start small, okay, but start now. Don't wait for any perfect time because there is no perfect time. Sustainable change doesn't always begin with the big project or huge funds or funding or whatever you. It begins with one consistent action that addresses a real need, okay, in your community. When I look back and where, okay, I am now, if I had stood back and be like, oh, I don't have the audience, I don't have the finances and all that. Let me not start now. I will have been where I am today, right? So there is no perfect time. Go in and just do it. People will follow you once you have a real situation, once you have a real problem that you are solving in society. So that is all that I can say. Don't wait for the perfect time or result. Begin with what you have, stay consistent, and build partnership along the way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. James. To sum that up, do something you're passionate about, just like Ms. Ramata told us. Mr. James said start small because sustainable change that is not all about big policies, big strategies, and big projects, but it's about mindset, resilience, collaboration, and everything that our panelists have talked about. Thank you so much, our amazing panelists. It was so I learned a lot, and it's a pleasure to listen from you and learn from you. I hope that everyone who's watching us from YouTube has learned from you, and they are going to do something from what they have had, because like we said, the future is not waiting for us. We have to shape our future. We have to start right now. We are saying that young people are not bystanders, but they're active builders in the Africa that we want to have or we want to build. So include them. I always say you follow us on our social media platforms at African Young Leaders Foundation on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. But also follow our panelists at Miss Ramata Dumbuya on all social media platforms where you can get her. And then Miss James Aporek, who is also on social media. Please follow them. And also follow me, your moderator, who is always here with you, bringing all these amazing and beautiful panelists at Mary Joyce Takali on all social media platforms. At the AYLF, we dedicated ourselves to doing this for the young people, to giving young people platforms so they can be able to participate meaningfully, but also shape the Africa that we want. Thank you very much for listening to us, and until I see you next time, see you when you see me. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, she left? Oh, that was